I'm Aussie Harry, and this is my fight breakdown. Yeah, my first opponent at the Olympics was John Ume. I knew I just had to box really smart, get my distance right. Hadn't fought in 18 months prior to the Olympics, so it was all about just getting my distance right, not obviously going in there trying to do damage against someone like that. Just really boxing well, boxing smooth, boxing neat, getting through it undamaged, and just making sure I was preparing for the next one. Not overlooking him because he was an absolute exceptional athlete, but just getting through it unscathed and really focusing on the next one. My second fight was against Jonas Jonas. He's an absolute exceptional athlete. He was ranked number 2 and I knew it was going to be a really hard one. But I was excited, mate. I always wanted to fight him. After the Commonwealth Games, he won the 64 division and I won the 60 and was just grateful to get the opportunity to fight him. The most prepared athletes are, I do my research on every one of my fighters in my weight. And I had a big booklet and I look at everything. Look at how they're boxing, look at how frequently they've been boxing the last 2 years, who they've been boxing. And I knew Jonas Jonas had a few problems. He was locked up for a period of time, had a bit of a street fight and was locked up in his home country. And I knew that's not an ideal preparation going into the Olympics. And also knew, regardless of that, I believed in my ability and there was something that my dad said to me after the Commonwealth Games, and your family are really close to you. And after I just won the Commonwealth Games, I never forget it, my dad about 2 hours later, my dad's a really good man. My dad about 2 hours later, after I just won the Commonwealth Games, he's like, geez, that Jonas Jonas was really good. And it stuck with me. And it's almost like, well, I'm not good enough. I felt like that. And I was like, well, I'm not good enough. And I just remember thinking, I want to fight him. I just want to show, I'm better than him. It's like something, when your family says something, it really gets to you. And I just never forget that. I never said anything to my dad in the moment. And there was an element of me that wanted to say something after I won. I wanted to message him and say, how was that, Dad? But I'm not like that. He's a really good man. And it just really stuck with me and I was just grateful to get the job done.
But he'll probably see this.
Yeah, he will see this, but I've spoken to him about it. He's all good. He's got that really awkward style, really long arms, awkward shots. Just knew I had to just be really patient, let him throw his awkward shots and just counter off that. Just really being smart with what I was doing. And as the fight went on, I felt more and more confident. And as I said, going into that fight, I was really confident to get through it. I thought it was going to be like a touch harder. But once I got in there, mate, you're in a bit of a flow. You're not really thinking, you're just doing. And I felt really, really good inside that fight and was grateful to get the unanimous decision. Yeah, it was electric, mate, but it's all business. It's all business. And I knew, like, there's still 3 more fights to go after that. I wanted that gold medal and I got straight back to the change room, back in the sweat gear, focusing on the next fight. And of course, it's electric, and to beat the number 2 ranked person in the tournament was amazing. But for me, mate, it's all business. There's like that element of the more people you tell your goals, the more people you tell your dreams, the more people you tell like what you're aiming for, the more you kind of feel like you have to achieve it. And I'm big on that. Like I like to tell people, so then it holds me accountable almost. And I truly went there for the gold medal, and that bronze medal wasn't what I went there for, and it was a failure. And I'll be the first to admit that. And yeah, unfortunately, mate, like I stumbled at the semi-final against one of the best athletes in the world. And if I ever get the opportunity to fight him again, mate, I'll be more prepared next time. I'll train harder. I'll be better over the next few years if I go to the Olympics next time. And yeah, just grateful to get the opportunity to fight the Cuban, or the best one in the division, and see where I stack up against him. The quarterfinal was a really tough opponent from Kazakhstan, Safiullin. He was an exceptional athlete, and he's someone who, in tournaments prior to the Olympics, I was so close to fighting him on so many different occasions, but we never got the opportunity to actually fight. And I was really feeling good about this fight. I knew he was an absolute athlete. He's been around for a long time. But yeah, just grateful to get the opportunity to fight him. I thought Jonas was going to be harder than him, to be honest, and he was harder than Jonas, and I'll admit that. It was a really close fight. But Kazakhs, they're absolutely unbelievable, and they're probably one of the most successful boxing nations in the amateur system at the moment. And I knew it was going to be a really hard fight. It was a really close one. It was a split decision. It deserved that. But yeah, his style, judging by what I had seen, I thought it was going to really go well for me. But he really changed up things. He made it really hard for me, made it really difficult. And Wasn't all smooth sailing, that's for sure. I think every Australian can vouch for this. When they say split decision, your heart drops. I've had a few rough ones in my time, and it's hard as well, mate. Like, I don't want to say it's a robbery or anything like that, because that fight, if it went the other way, like, I wouldn't have complained. You know what I mean? It was a really close one. I thought I did enough. I've had many other fights where I thought I've outclassed someone and I've lost it, and it's really hard over 3 rounds to really determine a winner, and that's why I think amateur system is, you see a bit more robbery or something like that. It's really hard to determine a winner, but when they said split decision, geez, my heart dropped, and then to get that feeling, I think that's why you saw that, like I really yelled and I like let it all out, because my heart did drop for a bit. Yeah, the semi-final against Cruz, the pound for pound king. I've dissected it a few times since the Olympics. It took me a while to actually watch the fight back, but since the Olympics now, I've watched it back 4 times. I've taken notes down on it, and I think the biggest thing, I went into that fight obviously knowing my ability wasn't as good as him, or my experience as well. I knew that. I'm very honest and I'm very aware of my capabilities, and I went into there with so many tactics, which I needed, because I wouldn't naturally just be able to go in there and beat him. I had to have tactics, and I think that's what made him better, was he wasn't thinking. He doesn't think, he just does. He's very natural, very flowy, very reactive. Obviously an exceptional mover, flowy, relaxed, but actually had unbelievable power as well. I was actually quite surprised. A lot of the Cubans are a lot more touchy, but he actually had a lot of power, and I was really impressed. But I think the biggest thing was he just wasn't thinking. And I think you look at the best athletes in the world, Kelly Slater, Serena Williams, Tom Brady, they're not really thinking, they're just doing. And I think that's what makes him so good. From the loss, mate, I won't lie, the moment I lost, I got back into the rooms, I went numb. I went numb for about 2 months. I felt like I was just in autopilot. It was a weird feeling. I often do that when there's a lot going on. I just pull away, and it was like when I jumped on the scales, of course it was amazing seeing the Australian flag, and that moment was really special. But I was pretty numb. I wasn't feeling much, mate, and I don't really know why I do that, but I think I was just switching off because I didn't really want to address what was really going on. There was a lot happening in that moment, and I just sort of pulled myself away, and yeah, I went a bit numb for about 2 months, mate. It was just, of course, still training, and training's really important to me for my mental health and stuff like that, but it was a weird time. You train for something for 15 years, for that gold medal, and you get that close, and you stumble. It's like a weird, it's just done. It was just like that. How do you sort of come to terms with that? And it's something that I'm still struggling with, mate, but I think having the focus now of fighting in December and turning professional, and it's the new beginning, the new chapter, and I think that's given me a lot more life. And obviously with a new team, Johnny Lewis and Jason Lang, and being in a new environment of Sydney, that's really sort of helped me and lifted me up. And it's just an interesting feeling. You can't really prepare for that feeling after you prepare and train for something for so long.